Jessie L. Weston's From Ritual to Romance continues with Chapter 8, The Medicine Man. Now, people use the term witch doctor, but not all of them are Satanist. Some of them are, though. In previous chapters, I have referred to the part played by the doctor in a number of the surviving fertility ceremonies, and to the fact, noted by other writers, that even where an active share is no longer assigned to the character, he appears among the dramatis personae of these folk plays and processions. We will now examine more closely the role allotted to this mysterious personage. We shall find it to be of extreme antiquity and remarkable significance in the interesting and important work by Professor von Schroeder, to which I have already often referred. We find the translation of a curious poem in the Rigveda 1097, a monologue placed in the mouth of a doctor, or medicine man, who vaunts the virtue of his herbs and their power to cure human ills. From the reference made to a special sick man, von Schroeder infers that this poem, like others in the collection, was intended to be acted as well as recited, and that the personage to be healed, evidently presented on the scene, was probably represented by a dummy, as no speeches are allotted to the character. The entire poem consists of 23 verses of 4 lines each, and is divided by the translator into 3 distinct sections. The first is devoted to the praise of the herbs in general, the power to cure the sick man before them, and at the same time to bring riches to the healer. The opening verses run, "The ancient herbs born long ago, even 3 ages before, those that they consider to be gods. Now, the brown ones I shall praise. 107 kinds there are. 100 kinds, my little mothers. 1,000 branches do you have. With your strength 1,000-fold, heal and cure this man for me. Listen, you herbs, you little mothers, you divine ones, this I tell you, horses, cattle, and garments I want, and also to gain thy life, dear man." And before we go into how he praises the power of all the herbs, it's common in grimoires to have objects treated as divinities. Objects, herbs. He then praises the power of all the herbs. "From heaven did the host of herbs come flying down and say to me, if we find him still alive, free from harm, this man shall be." And spirits could be attracted to the worship of egregores or the worship of material things and interact with it, claiming the effects of the herbs are their doing. Finally, the speaker singles out one herb as superior to all others. "In Soma's realm are many herbs, and knowledge of 100-fold have they. Of all these herbs, thou art the best, the wish to fulfill and heart to heal." There's evidence quite explicitly written that Soma would be marijuana, ephedra, and opium mixed together. And they would sometimes, like the Persians, mix in other things. Fly agaric mushroom is one of the things that they would either use as a substitute, but perhaps Soma is a class of herbs, a class of plant matter that was, considered to be a medicinal drug. He conjures all other herbs to lend their virtue to this special remedy. All you herbs in Soma's kingdom, over all the earth spread widely. Brihaspati's seed are you. Give to this herb all your strength. May he who plants you know no harm, nor he for whom your seed is sown. With us shall all, both man and beast, well and free from danger be. All you who listen to my word, you who are far away from here, all you plants, unite together and grant your strength to this one herb. And the herbs, taking counsel together with Soma as their king, answer, that man to whom a Brahman gives us, him shall we save from harm, O king. A line which throws light upon the personality of the speaker. He is obviously a Brahmin, and the medicine man here, as elsewhere, unites the functions of priest and healer. Professor von Schroeder suggests that this dramatic monologue form part of the ceremonies of the Soma feast, that it is the Soma plant from which the heavenly drink is brewed, which is to be understood as the first of all herbs, and the cure of all ills, and the reference to Soma as king of the herbs seems to bear out this suggestion. In a previous chapter, I have referred to a curious little poem found in the Rig Veda and translated by von Schroeder under the title A Folk Procession at a Soma Feast. The dramatis persona of the poem offering, as I pointed out, a most striking and significant parallel to certain surviving fertility processions, notably that of Verdegotzen in Hanover. In this little song, which Van Schroeder places in the mouth of the leader of the band of maskers, the doctor is twice referred to. In the opening lines, we have the Brahmin, the doctor, the carpenter, smith, given as men plying different trades, and each and all in search of gain. In the final verse, the speaker announces, I am a poet, or singer, my father a doctor. Thus, of the various trades, of personages enumberated, the doctor alone appears twice over, an indication of the importance attached to this character. And it's also important to note that in the Bible, when it calls Jesus a carpenter, he's actually a hand laborer or some sort of a jack of all trades that his band going about could be hired to do whatever. I mean, whatever good, obviously, but unfortunately, in view of the fragmentary condition of the survivals of early Aryan literature and the lack of explanatory material at our disposal, it is impossible to decide what was the precise role assigned to the medicine man, judging from the genuine character of the surviving dramatic fragments and the close parallel which exists between these fragments and the medieval and modern fertility ceremonies. It seems extremely probable that his original role was identical with that assigned to his modern counterpart, i.e., that of restoring to life our health, the slain or suffering, representative of the vegetation spirit. The presumption gains additional support from the fact that it is in this character that the doctor appears in Greek classical drama. Von Schroeder refers to this fact that the doctor was a stock figure in the Greek mimes, and in Mr. Cornford's interesting volume entitled The Origin of Attic Comedy, the author reckons the doctor among the stock masks of the early Greek theater and assigns to this character the precise role which later survivals have led us to attribute to him. The significance of Mr. Cornford's work lies in the fact that while he accepts Sir Gilbert Murray's deeply interesting and suggestive theory that the origins of Greek tragedy are to be sought in the agon of the fertility spirit, his pathos and theosophy. And theophany. Okay, that's totally different, right? He contends that a similar origin must be postulated for Attic comedy, that the stock masks, the characters, agree with the theory of gravitation of such comedy from a ritual performance celebrating the renewal of the seasons. They were at first serious and even awful figures as a religious mystery. The entity who every year is born and dies and rises again, his mother and his bride, the antagonist who kills him, the medicine man who restores him to life. It sounds like it's kind of hidden a little bit, but there is reference in the Bible about Jesus being buried with herbs and perhaps not have been killed. So, hence part of the carryover. So it was resuscitation, not. I would submit that the presence of such a character in the original drama of a revival, which, on my theory, underlies the romantic form of the Grail legend, may, in view of the above evidence and of that brought forward in the previous chapters, be accepted at least as a probable hypothesis. I draw attention to the fact that while scholars are now coming to the conclusion that the classic drama, whether tragedy or comedy, reposes for its origin upon this ancient ritual, others have pointed out that the modern drama derives from the ritual play of the church, the first recorded medieval drama being the Easter Quem Quaeritis. The dramatic celebration of the supposed Lord's resurrection. The medieval stage, where this thesis is elaborately developed and illustrated. It is a curious fact that certain texts of this, the classic Passion play, contain a scene between the Maris and the Unjuntarius, from whom they purchase spices for the embalmment of the so-called Lord. Can this be a survival of the medicine man? Okay, I was wondering, I wondered where they would have made that conclusion. But it may be objected, granting that the doctor in these fertility processes and dramas represents a genuine survival of a feature of immemorial antiquity, a survival to be traced alike in Aryan remains in Greek literature and in medieval ceremony. What is the precise bearing upon the special subject of our investigations? There is no doctor in the Grail legend, although there is certainly abundant scope for his activities. There may be no doctor in the Grail legend today, but there was never such a character. Oh, but was there never such a character? How? If this is to be the key to explain the curious and persistent attribution of healing skill to apparently so unsuitable a personage as Sir Gawain, I would draw the attention of my readers to a passage of the Percival of Chrétien de Troyes, where Gawain, finding a wounded knight by a roadside, proceeds to treat him. Of wounds and healing lore did Sir Gawain know more than any man alive to make the sick knight thrive, a herb to cure all pain, that in a hedge had lain. He spied, and thence he plucked it. Marijuana was long known for certain properties like that. Other manuscripts are rather fuller. Of wounds and healing lore had Sir Gawain learned more than any other knew. Within a hedge there grew a herb he long had known, By his master he'd been shown, and taught its healing spell? And he knew it well. He found a reference to Gawain's possession of medical knowledge elsewhere in the poem entitled Lancelot et le Cerf au pied blanc. Gawain, finding his friend desperately wounded, carries him to a physician who instructs as to the proper treatment. To the healer